We are fully present,
Mm.
flowing in, flowing through. This is the process.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, as things reveal themselves to you that challenge it, as you know and are saying it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because on the other side, in other words, this is just a door. This is an opportunity showing itself to you, and you know it's an opportunity because you feel emotional activation around it. And
Mm.
we want you to make that correlation and to be able to really understand and to accept it, and of course to believe in it and to embrace it. That whenever something is activating you, it's
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity for something new to come into your experience. That
Mm.
this is a really good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That you've called this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, on the other side is the greater expansion, the greater knowledge, the greater experience that you are seeking. Because you have that as an intention, yes?
Yes,
You're,
absolutely.
you're not trying to just create a few nice things along the road and shut the rest of the world out. You want that inner energy to come forward and to be fully present within your physical experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
And so anytime something is activating you, sort of on the opposite side of that,
Mm-hmm.
that's all it's showing you. It's showing you that you've begun that process, you've set it into motion, and now it's just revealing itself to you.
Right. So, so the it was interesting because there are different ways of looking at this situation, and I am choosing to look at it through the lens of an opportunity to allow the energy to guide me to feel the emotions coming forward and to kind of see it in a new light. Because when someone like a mother, or my mother in particular, um, comes back into my life in such a direct way, there could be a tendency to fall back into old versions of myself.
Yes, indeed. And all that's showing you is that those old portions of yourself are actually new portions of yourself. They're current portions of yourself. And you know that because there's emotion, because there's energy, because there's activation, which means that it's active now.
Yeah, yeah. So that's so interesting. And I know that, the now about it makes it more, just more, um, it makes it easier to deal with, almost, in a way, because I can, if I release for instance, you know, if an old me is, does mommy love me if I am who I am, or mommy doesn't love me if I am who I am, then if that energy is coming up, then I have an opportunity to really shift that for all of time, all of creation.
Indeed.
At
And it
this,
will keep showing itself to you until you make the shift.
yeah, yeah, until you make the shift. And if so, the other side of that was, you know, I have learned what I believe, or I can't say I've learned, but I've explored love, in a way, in family, that I didn't have when I was a child, through my own family. And it's been a very beautiful experience in so many ways. But because of the childhood that I had, I think it gave me an opportunity to then, really think about, well, what is love? What does that mean to be a mother, and to be a, companion, and to be compassionate and gentle? And so I guess, I've created that, and that other energy of dysfunction, just to put a label on it, is not who I am anymore. It's not how I live. And especially with the shift of energy, within me, knowing who I am more and more and more as, divine being. And so, so I guess that there's this part of me that wants to put that in a box and kind of say, all right, well, this is how I behave now, and that's how I behave then. But it's more of a flow, isn't it? I mean, it's a
It
moment
is.
to moment, isn't it? It's
It is. It's a continuum of belief, and you can't segment those parts of yourself. Truly, you cannot, because there's always energy, there's consciousness, there's thought that runs through these patterns. And if you allow the inner energy to sort of just move you through these thought ways, you'll find yourself traveling through all of these different emotional possibilities. Of course, the resolution coming from that process, the resolution being realized because that is the direction that the inner energy is always moving into.
right.
But if you segment these parts of yourself, then you're not allowing the resolution to come, and it's sort of that pushing away that ends up, in other words, that will continue to build and show itself to you larger and larger and larger until you address the belief, until you address the idea and the energy that is going on again in this moment. Now, the belief may have been formed initially in what you would call the past, but you're adding to it all the time. It's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. At the core is that initial experience that initiated the belief,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is why many take you through inner child work or things like that to get in touch with that core experience.
Hmm.
But with our process, you'll go through all of that naturally when your intention is to allow that belief to resolve. So it reveals itself. You feel this sort of pulsing energy within yourself. You have the awareness of the emotion. And then you place the intention. I want to allow this to move. I want to allow it to shift and change. Well, you place the intention, and then of course you relax and breathe and so on and so forth, and each layer of the belief is going to reveal itself to you. So there will be an outer layer where you'll sort of feel that peripheral energy and say nice things to yourself and say things have changed and so on and so forth, things that all of these approaches that you do understand. And then that releases a little bit, and then you get a little bit closer in, and then you feel a little bit more of the intensity of energy. And that is when a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But what's going on is you're recognizing and it's going to be the most intense at the very core. And when you allow that to sort of open up into release, that is when true energetic motion, true transformation of energy is allowed to come forward.
Mm. So, so if there is a sort of, I want to call it just a wound, right? A feeling of inferiority, a feeling of not being loved, whatever that wound might be, that could be a very intense feeling. That
Indeed.
could be very, you know, uh, I think for me, it causes anxiety, those kinds of feelings. So in those moments when you're feeling those things and you're recognizing it, I think that at this point, I can see it more and observe it more than um, like allow it to swallow me up. Does that make sense?
Indeed. And on the opposite of that is sort of shoving it away. And you're not doing that either so
Yeah.
much. You're allowing it to sort of reveal itself because people think, oh, this has all of this charge around it.
Right.
If I feel this charge, I'm going to start attracting all sorts of negative, awful things to myself. So I have to pretend as if it is not there or
Mm,
distract myself.
mm,
And that
mm,
just prolongs the experience. Because as we've spoken of before, if you're running away from something, what you're running away from is very active within you and it's only getting stronger. If you're hiding from something, what you're hiding from is only gaining momentum and getting stronger as well.
okay. Yeah. Okay. So that feeling of a little bit of uh, sadness and feeling of hurt, or it's a pretty potent feeling. um, but I guess my question is, I'm wondering, I don't want to hide from it, I don't want to run from it. But when you're not, when you're used to kind of dissociating in a way from it, allowing yourself to feel it is also a little bit of a process. Like you say, it gets stronger and it gets stronger and it gets stronger. And I think that many people feel, including myself, that those feelings then are going to take them over.
Indeed.
So the way to manage them is to kind of, I think, distance, be dissociate, in a way. See them, know that they're there, but not engage in the feeling.
Well, that fear of being overwhelmed by the energy is coming from a lack of a trust in the energy.
Right. Right.
Because if you trust it, in other words, think
That's
of the inner energy as rising up through that well, and you're just priming the pump and you're getting a little bit of sludge before the inner energy is allowed to flow. But you don't see a little bit of sludge and then say, okay, this well is busted. Let's move on to another one where we can just get the clean water from. And that is sort of the general attitude that is going on. I'm broken, I'm dysfunctional. We don't even need to open that Pandora's box. I'm just going to sort of constrain myself to the simple sort of prescribed life experience. But as you continue, in other words, you can feel the pressure as that water is continuing to build. And then because you know of its origin and destination, it's able to flush out the blockage.
very good. That is very, very good. Yeah. As you were talking, I was reminded that um, my mother has a very rough time dealing with her pain, and she says she has a lot of she's had a lot of hurt and sorrow in her life, and she knows that she's had challenges and a hard life, but her disposition has always been one, well, you know, uh, maybe victim, a little bit victim mentality. And I think that I developed kind of the strong, like I'll be tough so that I don't wallow. you know I'm not saying I've never been a victim. I'm sure I've acted that out too, but at the same time, like, I can see that with her. Like, I can see, and she drinks to kind of hide that pain. And I'm not here to psychoanalyze her or to change her, but just to allow her to be who she is. Although I've laid down some boundaries around the drinking. Um, but so I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not expecting her to be here and for her to change. I'm expecting for her to be here and for me to change. And I am a little concerned, though, that I'm concerned about how do I accept her as she is, I guess. And maybe that is an old energy that,
You have no choice.
yeah, yeah. I have no choice. This is true. I have no choice. I have no choice. So what comes up when I say that is interesting. Um, it's a sense of denial, a sense, that sense of um, it's that little child who is mad at her mother because she didn't behave like all the other mothers, or didn't, or doesn't behave. So that's interesting. Uh, I think me going through some of this will be really good for me, coming from a place of valuing myself first rather than, just like judging myself.
Indeed, it allows you to make the distinctions. What is yours? What is not yours?
Yeah.
What have you picked up as yours? What beliefs about yourself, about people in general, have you picked up
Yeah.
from her or from other people?
Yeah.
And you can make that distinction by the feeling, by the energy. You're flowing along and you have that idea come up and it's pulsing with energy, and you've sort of, as you said, created this protective layer around it.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But instead of taking her ideas and saying, this is mine, this is hers, go away, this is mine, this is hers, go away, oh, and so on and so forth, you get to benefit from all of this by recognizing that you've accepted these ideas, but now allowing them to transmute into something else, something that you wouldn't have realized if you had not been given the gift.
This is true. This is true because this has happened with other things since I've been shifting in my awareness of who I am and allowing the energy and moving with the energy and being. Yeah. So I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. It's the same process as other sort of boundaries that I've recognized I had placed, you know, or was living, uh, and that were not, that were false in a way. Yeah. Or that they could change at least.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. That's really good. Okay. So, uh, as we evolve, as we continue to evolve in our awareness of our own identity, a divinity, um, these things, these challenges that come through as opportunities, we decided for those things. We chose those things in our life, like,
Yes.
yeah, because they give us those gifts, and we knew that they were, yeah.
And you get to receive the benefit of that when you transmute the energy.
Okay. And so my mother, actually, this is a gift for her. This is, even though she's having to leave her boyfriend and is very sad about that, it's a gift for her as well.
It is.
Yeah. So that's good.
In other words, you recognize her limitations in that sense,
Yeah.
and she has been doing her best to ignore them, as you know.
Right.
And is that not a perfect analogy for what we're talking about here?
Hmm.
She doesn't want to see it.
Right.
So some people push it away. Some people turn to drinking. Some people turn to other behaviors to distract themselves because they think that the emotions are far too intense. In other words, that they will be overwhelmed by them. And so you recognize it in yourself.
Right.
But what the gift that you're receiving is the ability to transmute that energy. And so this is also a gift that you can communicate to her if she is open and receptive to it. But we want you to recognize the correlations, because you're not doing it in the extreme sense, but you're sort of still taking that on a little bit, saying, you know, this is negative. I don't want to be negative. I don't want that negativity in my energy field. And so I'm not even going to entertain this. But after a while, it does get so big and so strong that some people turn to behaviors such as drinking because it feels better to them than,
Hmm.
because they don't have a recognized process to be able to process, to translate, to transmute that energy of the
Yeah.
beliefs, of the experiences.
Yeah.
And we say beliefs. Sometimes you can go into an almost overly intellectual approach of belief, but the belief is alive. It is alive with energy, it is alive with consciousness, it is imbued with your personal experiences, with your memories, with images. It is alive.
Hmm.
And so you let it play itself out with the intention. In other words, the intention gets that inner energy flowing that's going to spiral those beliefs into resolution.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of energy moving. There's a lot going on.
Hmm.
And some people do not believe that they are able to process those emotions. So again, the beliefs are pushed away. All sorts of coping mechanisms are developed for it, and they're named and they're numbered and they're listed in all sorts of different ways. But all of these approaches are means of avoiding the underlying energetic process that would, if left to its own accord, resolve itself. And that's what we want you to understand as well, that this is a natural process, that this
Yeah.
is the way of things, that you are not stranded in the middle of this without any sort of support. But if you don't accept the support, if you don't accept the inner energy flowing forward and flowing through you, then you don't get the benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're able to just sort of sit back into it, and as you're saying, accept the moment, accept the energy, accept the beliefs, and allow them to continue to play through you,
Mm-hmm.
then everything comes into resolution.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, it does come into resolution. Um, there are others obviously involved in my home. I've got my son, my daughter, my husband, my daughter's boyfriend here. It's like going to be this multi-generational home. And so that I've been thinking that experience in and of itself is really interesting. It's a really like kind of cool dynamic. It's not a dynamic that you kind of, see too often, at least in the United States, or that I have seen that often since I was a kid. So, so I feel like in a way we are this community as well, and we're going to be able to explore being a community as well as a family. um, and so I have an intention for that, and my intention is that we have time for good communication, and we have some time for fun, and we have some time for you know for just enjoying the moment together, and all of that is really, really good. And then I also want to have some time for me. I want to have some time for me to do my my writing, my work, my experience, with others outside of it. So
Indeed. And we don't want you to segment that. In other words, there's this
yeah,
and there's that. We
yeah.
want you to have your inner balance, your personal harmony be the foundation, your priority, your number one intention, because you cannot have harmony within all of these relationships unless you have the harmony within the self. So you
Yeah.
have to make that your priority. You have to make that your foundation. And as you're going into the day in harmony within your own inner self, within your own inner world, and there's that clarity, there's that focus, and there's that balance, then you're able to step forward, and it is all the components are drawn to you. Because if you're trying to go and say, let's play cards on this night, and then we have a conversation at this time, and then we need to talk about this and all of these things, you're trying to manage way too many things that are beyond and outside of your control. But if you're able to set that energy, set that foundation, set that tone by every day finding your own harmony first, then you're going to draw from them all of those aspects that you're trying to figure out. And they will be drawn to the nucleus that is the harmony of energy that you're offering.
Mm. Yeah, boy, that's very insightful. That was really helpful, Joseph. It is true, and I believe that my harmony begins here with me and the energy that my intention, the energy that I create. Um, and so, thank you. If those things are inspired in the moment, then it's when they will be fulfilling and satisfying. I totally get it. Totally get it now. Yeah.
And the opposite is true as well.
Yeah.
If you're angry because someone left something somewhere and you're sort of on a tirade about it, it's sending ripples out that will reflect back to you more of that. And it in those moments, it seems beyond your logical comprehension. In other words, if you're in frustration, you're not able to see that there is another way because you're frustrated about this one particular thing, or
Yeah.
agitated or whatever about this one particular thing. And then you're focusing in that way, you're seeing through that lens, you're not able to see all of the other possibilities that are available to you. That's why you have to just keep bringing it back. That's why you have to set that foundation. That's why you have to have that balance as the basis.
I've been more and more conversing, I don't know what else to call it, communicating by thought inwardly, in a sense, or maybe it's hard to know like where it's all coming from, but I have this sense of guidance, wisdom, knowing that just in the moment is has been I've been able to hear, not hear like physical here, but just kind of here inside, here within. It's been uh, it's been like a peaceful, like here's the peaceful choice. It almost says, you know, it almost
Yes,
says to me, here's the peaceful way to look at this. Here's the
this
love.
is the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So that is the inner energy coming through,
it
right?
is very
Yeah,
much so.
yeah.
And and so that's how you allow it to get stronger and stronger. It's called that still small voice for a reason. You just keep relaxing into the peace, relaxing into that present moment, letting go, letting go, letting go. And then what expresses is something so much more powerful. That is how Aaron connects with us here. He doesn't get this idea and then is off and running with this and really needs to share it. But although it seems like that's what's coming through, he in this moment is just letting go,
Mhm.
relaxing, letting go, going deeper, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. And from that, that's where you access the subtle energy. That's where the subtle energy is. And then it builds and it builds and it ripples out and expresses. But you don't get it by chasing after some big thing. You get it by coming back into that subtle energy. And then it is the animating force that comes forward. So he feels the consciousness, the excitement, the energy, the interest, and the intent, but he doesn't have to. In other words, he doesn't connect to this by hyping himself up to meet our level of intent or intensity. He allows that to play itself out through him by
Yeah.
continuing to relax, 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 relax. The only hyping up that you have to do is by placing the intention. Placing the intention puts everything into alignment, and then the energy is able to flow very clearly. You just have to manage how the circuits are aligned.
Yeah.
And if you feel yourself trying too hard, the circuits start to become divergent, and you have a little break in the communication. And if you're trying to fix something or trying to make something happen, there's the divergence as well. And it's sort of a jerkier experience. So, in the same way, it applies to all things. If you're wanting to receive that clear communication, if you're wanting to receive that clear guidance, well, you place the intention and you just relax, 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 relax until you find yourself jumping out of your chair. You're not jumping out of your chair to go chase after something. You're jumping out of your chair because the energy has moved you into something.
Yeah. Yeah. I certainly sometimes get pretty kind of excited after I've meditated. It's kind of like, all right, let's go. It just feels like, you know, a lot of good energy. That's what it feels like. Just,
It is because that's exactly what we're talking about. You open up and a new inspiration comes forward, an idea, and then you're just sort of sitting back and letting it gain momentum. So it gains power, it gains strength, it gains attractive power. There's energy around it. There's energy in motion. There's emotion all around it. And you come out of meditation and there it is. You've allowed it to flow forward. You've allowed it to build. You've allowed it to gain strength and momentum. And now it's attracting to you all these new experiences that are going to feel just like it.
yeah. Yeah. Um, so I wondered if I will kind of stop. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but sometimes I question, like, well, why did that happen? Why did, my brother die? Why did my husband get sick? Why did, why, all these things? And because I feel like if I have the answer, I can do something. I can fix it. I can make it better. Um, but I'm just wondering I can if I can be at a point where maybe I'm looking at that from a different perspective, not asking why, but sort of just flowing with it, just going with it, just like, is there a different way of existing when you have challenges, like when people, I mean, I know seeing them as opportunities for sure, but when there's really nothing, no emotion that's sort of, in the way, is there a total acceptance? Is that maybe what it is? Or
Well, the why is standing in the way. The why is standing in the way. The why, the questioning comes naturally, and it offers the opportunity. It is the new the door that is about to open for you. But if you keep examining the why and holding the why and then wondering why you're wondering why, and then that continues to build, it's you're just sort of looking at the door and just thinking why, and it's clouding your vision to what
yeah,
it is that you want to be able to offer to yourself and to others. So you just have to let it go. And you
okay.
can call that acceptance. You can call it whatever you want. But even if you can't get to, in other words, acceptance many times sounds like I have to make this a good thing that I love
Oh,
and
mhm.
everything's great and this is amazing. But that's way too big of a jump many times, and you're sort of trying to convince yourself of that, which never really works.
Yeah,
So rather than acceptance, many times it is just a releasing of the disallowance, not questioning, not
right.
analyzing, not
That's right.
digging into this or
Mhm.
ruminating on these things, just letting that go.
Yeah,
Then the inner energy will sort of move you along step by step by step,
yeah,
and you're able to move forward. But every time you bring up the why, you sort of stop dead in your tracks, and you're not moving forward to the solutions that you've been asking for.
yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. That's really good. Because that energy of why is an energy of this isn't right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Okay. Yeah.
And now we're not saying never have critical thought or don't question things. We're just saying don't obsess about the question. The questioning will come naturally. You don't have to ask that again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I hear you. And I do tend to do that sometimes because, like I said, if I could figure it out, then I'll know the answer. But I can know the answer, or I can have resolution without going through that whole, you know, um, that whole process of you know, it's got to look like this. The answer has to look like something that I can then, figure out and change. So, yeah,
You've learned it from your parents, you've learned it from your teachers. If you beg, if you look sad enough,
yeah.
if you push it, they'll cave. Well, the universe does not cave.
No, the universe does not cave. The universe just continues to expand.
It does.
Um, so, really, what we're talking about is this power, that the sense of energy that actually guides um, guides and also kind of answers or responds, is what I want to say.
It
And,
does.
yeah. Mhm. Yep.
It is fluid, it is alive, it is conscious, it is responsive, it is aware, it is energizing, it is enlivening.
Because that's who we are. I mean, we are physical, but we're more than that. We're sort of, yeah, we're more than that.
Indeed. And
Yeah.
that identification with that energy allows it to take on greater flows, greater realizations. All of this comes naturally. All of these realizations come naturally
Yeah.
as you continue to allow it to play itself out through you.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had more a sense of this sort of walking as my inner being kind of thing, where I can feel the energy as I'm moving physically in space, which is
It
kind of,
is the experience of it.
yeah, it's fun. It's
It's
actually,
not something that you read and were like, oh, yes,
no, I've just noticed it. I've
you,
just noticed
you are it. It is being.
it is being. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it continuing to grow? Is that what's happening? Is that why I'm experiencing these sorts of new ways, new feelings of the energy? Yeah,
Always.
always. Okay. Very cool. Well, yeah, bring it on. um,
Now that is acceptance.
okay. Okay, that is definitely acceptance. Um, all right. Well, I'm feeling really uh like I can always, always, always go back to my priority. Like it is just how I now live. So in a way, I'm relying more and more on myself. And that feels really good, you know? That feels really good.
It
Trusting
is.
myself. Yeah.
As your foundation, as that irrevocable basis of your future experience. And then everything else is drawn to that because you want to live a life, you want to interact with others, you want new information, you want stimulation, you want excitement, you want adventure, you want all of these fun, dynamic things that come with being a physical being.
Yeah.
And all of it is drawn to you when you have that foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there is I guess what I'm understanding is that um, I'm interacting in a way with the energetic realm of my thoughts and my feelings and my desires. I'm interacting more and more there, finding joy in that feeling, finding enjoyment in that knowing, um, allowing that to flow kind of in a way that feels just natural. I'm connecting with kind of a different way of perceiving life and living life. I mean, I'm still human, but at the same time, I also have these sort of insights, if you will.
Being in the world, but not of the world. You have that greater awareness and you're allowing it to translate itself into your physical experience.
In the world, not of the world. Oh, very cool. Um, yeah, thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much. It's just the perfect teaching. It's just the perfect awareness for me. So thank you. Mm.
And it will continue to get stronger and more powerful and more detailed in your appreciation of it. Yes, it makes the energy more attractive, more meaningful. Yes. And then, of course, you step into that. Of course, you realize that. Of course, it becomes your physical experience because that is the energy that you're in.
So interesting. Yeah, that's right. Of course it does. I didn't put two and two together about how I was feeling the energy as I was walking. That is the physical feeling of the energy, of course, like you just said.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a spiral. Yes, you keep being brought back around to the understanding and then back around to the understanding with more experience, with more refinement, and then back around with more experience, more refinement, and then back around. And it keeps refining and it keeps becoming more detailed and more physically manifest. But it's just enjoying the process. You see how each time that we have these conversations, from our perspective, it is just a sort of opening in what you would call dimensional realities. It is just allowing this communication to happen. But we see when we have these conversations all of the new possibilities that are aligning. And so then you go through the spiral, and then we come back to the same point. And here we are again. New experiences, new understanding, new meanings, new ideas, more refinement. And you feel it every time. It sets a combustion off, which then sends you on the spiral again for another loop, and then you come in. But this is just one point on your spiral. So you'll have a relationship with someone at another point of the spiral, and then it'll set you around again, and so on and so forth.
Uh-huh. And this is happening here and now, because there is only really this here and now. And I am on that spiral, entering into those energetic frequencies or vibrations of feelings, emotions, thoughts. As I enter in and through those things, that's why I think you're telling me that. This is why I'm understanding that you move through the emotion and you come out to the other side, and it lifts you into a different kind of frequency, and then you're walking through that, and then you're experiencing that, and yeah, it feels like resolution, but then there's going to be more that you're walking through again, a different, and yeah, okay.
It is an eternal process. This is the acceptance of the perspective of your eternal self.
Yeah. Wow. Huh. Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like this eternal, long, arduous journey.
No.
It feels like the creative being that you are.
Right. And okay, but I have just one like question about multiple kinds of, like, you talk about potentiality, you talk about, and then we see all these potentialities. Okay, so there's all these potentialities. Are all of those potential, am I experiencing all of those potentials, or am I just experiencing one?
If you're perceiving it, you're experiencing that potentiality. So you could be perceiving something from your past. You could be perceiving something in what you would call the future. You could be imagining it. All of those are potentials. All of them are probabilities. And in the moment you give your attention to it, you are experiencing it. Now, our question for you is, do you want to experience it more? Do you want to perpetuate it? Do you want to give it more strength and more creative power? And that's why you have this awareness of the energy, and that's how that awareness is going to work out for you, because it can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
The thought of it is a reality. It's an energy. Now, do you want to give it your emphasis? Do you want it to become stronger? Do you want that potentiality to become a physical reality? Now, it'll always be an energetic reality, always. But do you want it to be your physical reality? Do you want to draw it in close to you? Do you want to experience it? Do you want to live with it?
Yeah. And so the intention and the focus, the process of moving through the emotional, whatever might be, unresolved, that is the process then of creating it, of bringing it into the physical where I want to live with it, kind of
It
thing.
is. Many times when people hear this conversation about all the potentialities and probabilities, it is too much for you to intellectually wrap your head around, because it is infinite and expanding and refining. So our guidance is to just find that core energy, to find that as your stable point, make that your foundation, make that your priority. And as you continue to hold to that and experience that, then what is called the law of attraction draws from the infinite potentials, draws from memories of the past, draws from ideas of the future, draws from experiences, people, relationships in your present, draws from your inner mind, draws from your intuition, draws from nature, and from all of these things, attracting all of the components, all of the aspects, all of the thoughts, all of the skills, all of the ideas, all of the emotions, all of that is drawn to you when you have that energetic foundation. And then draws to you and expands, and then draws to you and expands, and then another idea is drawn to you and it expands. The next thing you know, you come out of your meditation chair and you're excited about the day. It's because you've chosen to allow that core energy. In other words, you could focus on any of those probabilities and give it enough focus that it would become a reality for you.
Yeah.
And rather than being a liberating thought that is overwhelming most times because you don't necessarily have a criteria from which to choose. Well, that is what you have this awareness of the energy for, and that is why you're able to find your stable foundation. In other words, you can offer any thought you choose. You can offer any energy that you focus upon, and it will, down the line, gather enough momentum that will become your physical experience. So that is why we talk endlessly about this eternal self, because the eternal self is that stable energy. The eternal self is an actuality. It's magnetic, it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But the choice is ultimately yours.
Right.
If for whatever reason you want to disregard what we're teaching, some of what we're teaching here, and you decide that someone made you really mad and you just want to focus on that, then it'll blow up. And be our guest to create that. And if it is your choice, we just want you to recognize the consequences that come from it. And we don't mean consequence in a negative, judgmental sense.
No.
We mean it in the law-based sense, that whatever you're going to be focusing upon is just going to gain strength and momentum until it ultimately shows up even more.
Yeah. Yeah. It always shows up. It always shows up. It's very interesting. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think that that's all that I have for today. Wow. Yeah. Just gonna keep on keeping on.
Very much so.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you
Very
so
much so.
much. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. The energy is already moving. You just get to enjoy the process.
I do. I'm enjoying it.
Indeed.
And when I'm not enjoying it, I'm noticing it, and I'm still enjoying it. So there we go.
Recognizing the opportunities. We are complete.
Thank you. Wow.
Aye.
What do you do with all that knowledge, Aaron? That's like amazing, isn't it? Isn't it amazing?
I have to
Like,
tell you, it feels like the most natural, normal thing in the world. It's only when I go back and listen to it that I'm impressed by. It's too much to for me to wrap my head around.
yeah.
I have to accept it to go with
Yeah.
the theme. It's funny.
There's
Everybody keeps talking to me about acceptance. I feel like it's the theme right now.
really interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, I mean the knowledge, the wisdom, just the like instruction, the teaching. It's so comprehensive. I mean, really, they have their focus, but they also like are able to just help me to see so much more, which I really enjoy. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy talking with you and Joseph. It's really
It's a
nice.
pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you here. And
Thank you.
drawing all the new information from them. And, it's been amazing seeing how they relate to you is evolving and refining too. Uh, but it's also the same, it's like the
Right.
same message, just articulated
Yeah.
according to whatever we have going on through our life experience.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so beautiful and so perfect. They keep me on track. And I loved what they were talking about today with the spiral because I mean, that just really helped me, that just that little visual to understand that, you know, the potentials exist and we go out and we live those potentials through our choices,
Hmm.
and that it's all good. It's all good, all of it. So that makes it like almost freeing in a sense of there's just a lightness of being around that feels really good right now. Like I don't have to look at my mother's coming here like it's going to be this life lesson I have to get through. Like
Right.
it's more of finding that joy and peace in myself, working through what can be worked through, letting it go when I can. I mean, it just feels like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. It's not resisting it, which when I started talking with Joseph, we were talking about resistance a lot. So that has definitely changed.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron.
Absolutely.
All righty.
I enjoy it so much. Oops, what did I do?